Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest explainer. Before we get started, if you're into this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Okay, let's jump right in. What if a single missile could cripple an entire naval fleet in just minutes? Today we're talking about the BrahMos, a weapon that's engineered to do precisely that, and it's a real game changer in modern warfare.
Right. And get this, at a cost of just a few $1 million per missile, it's one of the deadliest bargains you can find. It's capable of taking out even the most advanced warships with a single devastating hit. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Countries spend trillions on these incredibly sophisticated air defense systems. We're talking advanced radar, layers of interceptor missiles, the whole shebang. So how can one weapon just make all of that seem almost obsolete? To get to the bottom of that, we first have to understand how the battlefield itself is changing. Yeah, for decades, the playbook was simple. Whoever controls the skies wins the war. But those skies are becoming an incredibly hostile place, and that's forcing a total rethink of military strategy.
The war in Ukraine is a perfect and pretty stark example. In the early days of the conflict, both sides lost a staggering number of aircraft to ground-based air defenses. The sky just became a no-go zone. So instead of risking pilots and incredibly expensive jets, both armies switched tactics and started relying heavily on what are called standoff weapons, basically missiles you can fire from a safe distance. But here's the thing, not all standoff weapons are built the same. You've got ballistic missiles, which launch way up high into the atmosphere in this big, predictable arc. That flight path actually makes them relatively easy for defense systems to track and shoot down. Cruise missiles, though, they're the opposite. They hug the ground, flying super low and fast, which makes them a much, much tougher target.
So, the challenge for military planners was pretty clear. You need a weapon that's ridiculously fast, flies low to the ground, and is incredibly hard to intercept. And that is exactly the problem India and Russia set out to solve together. Their answer? A supersonic solution, the BrahMos.
The name itself tells you the whole story of its origin. Brah comes from India's massive Brahmaputra River, and Moskva comes from Russia's Moskva River. It's a symbol of one of the most successful defense partnerships between the two countries. And this project was definitely not an overnight success story. The joint venture kicked off way back in 1998. The first successful test was in 2001, and from there it was this slow, steady process of integrating it across all of India's armed forces. First the Navy in 2005, then the Army, and finally the Air Force got their air-launched version in 2020. This was a long, careful journey to build a truly versatile weapon. So, what is all the fuss about? What actually makes this missile a game-changer? Well, the answer really comes down to a potent mix of raw speed, just immense power, and pinpoint precision. Okay, let's start with speed. The BrahMos screams along at Mach 3. That's 3 times the speed of sound. To put that in perspective for you, by the time you hear it coming, it's already hit. It's too late.
And all that speed generates incredible force. We're talking about kinetic energy, the sheer destructive power from its momentum, which is 32 times greater than that of the US subsonic Tomahawk missile. This thing doesn't just explode, it literally punches through its targets with just a devastating amount of impact. And when you actually put it side by side with its main competitors, the difference is just stark. The American Tomahawk and Harpoon missiles, they're both subsonic. BrahMos is playing in a completely different league when it comes to speed. And yeah, the Tomahawk has a longer range, but the BrahMos' unique combo of extreme speed and its own pretty impressive extended range of up to 900 kilometers makes it an absolutely unparalleled threat. All this really paints a clear picture of why it's considered almost impossible to stop. First, its speed gives defense systems almost no time to react. Second, it can skim just 10 meters above the waves, hiding below the radar horizon. Third, in its final moments, it performs these evasive S-shaped maneuvers. And finally, it's a fire-and-forget system, so once you launch it, it finds its own way to the target. It's a nightmare scenario for defenders. So this brings us to a really crucial point. The BrahMos isn't just a technological marvel. For India, it's a massive strategic asset. This single weapon is changing the country's role on the world stage, signaling a big shift from just aiming for self-reliance to becoming a major global defense exporter. And this right here is a powerful picture of India's Self-Reliant India initiative. When the project first started, Indian parts made up only about 13% of the missile. Today, that number has skyrocketed to over 76%. This isn't just about building one missile. It's about building an entire domestic defense industry from the ground up. And that industrial base is now paying off on a global scale. In 2022, India signed its very first export deal for the BrahMos with the Philippines, a landmark contract worth $375 million. This sale really announced India's arrival as a serious player in the global arms market. Right, and this wasn't just some simple arms deal. As retired Rear Admiral Ramjet points out, the purpose here was explicitly strategic. For the Philippines, getting their hands on BrahMos is all about creating a credible deterrent to protect their territorial claims in the super-contested South China Sea. It really shows you how a weapon system can literally reshape regional power balances. But as impressive as the current BrahMos is, its story is nowhere near finished. The developers are already hard at work on the next generation, and it's a leap into the hypersonic realm that could totally redefine warfare, all over again. And the jump-in capability they're aiming for is just staggering. We are not talking about a small incremental improvement here. The plan is to go from Mach-III all the way up to Mach-8. That's more than double the speed, pushing it deep into the hypersonic category, a speed where, frankly, all the traditional math for defense just starts to fall apart. The planned specs for this BrahMos-II are just extraordinary. A speed of Mach-8, a range of 1,500 kilometers, all powered by a revolutionary Scramjet engine, which is built to operate at those insane hypersonic speeds. A weapon like this could hit strategic targets from huge distances with basically zero warning time. It's truly the next frontier of warfare. Which brings us to a final and pretty sobering question. As missiles like the BrahMos-II move from the drawing board into reality, are we standing on the edge of a new era in warfare? You know, an era where the offense has such an overwhelming advantage that an effective defense becomes nearly impossible? What do you think about all this? Is this the inevitable future? Or will defense technology eventually find a way to catch up? We would genuinely love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you all for your time and for participating.
And hey, if you found this analysis interesting, please do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with someone who might enjoy it, and of course, be sure to subscribe to Global WarWatch Network for more explainers on the tech and strategies shaping our world.
And for even more content and daily updates, come join our community on social media. You can find all the links for that right in the description.